Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. It is another Monday. I don't even know if you caught any of that. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. It's another Monday, and I just want to say welcome to the show. Happy to have you all here. My name is Janelle Villiers, and I am the host of the Janelle Villiers podcast, and I'm happy to be with you. And so, if this is your first time here, go ahead and put a 1 in the comments. I love to see all of my new people and shout you out and say hello. If this is not your first time, if you have been here before, if you've been here in the past, go ahead and put a 2 in the comments. That way I can say hello and shout you out. Love seeing my returnees come back and, being a part of the conversation. So let's get into it, shall we? If you have not been here before, what you probably don't know is that I am all about giving tips for how to write books. We also talk about AI and how we can use AI to help us write, not necessarily help us write books, but help us to get our message across better. I also interview authors so you guys can hear about other authors and their journey. And I also interview people who haven't necessarily written their book just yet, but have a huge major story to share. So I'm really excited because today we're going to be talking about a specific topic that I'm excited about, that I think a lot of people have questions about, which is how to build authority in a crowded market, right? So you've got this expertise. There is nobody else like you. You are one of one. Nobody else knows how to do the thing that you know how to do. And yet it's a crowded market. And so how do people hear your voice? How do they recognize that you are different from everybody else? And that is what I want us to talk about. And so you guys know I have my notes because I don't want you to miss a thing. And so I have my notes to keep me focused. So that way I don't necessarily go off on tangents. And so let's start here. The market feels crowded. Probably if you're an expert out there, you're like, all right, I mean, I can go on social media, I can go on all these, but there's so many people on social media. There's so many people out there. Like, how can I stand out from the crowd? Hey, I just want to say hello, my friend Claudette. So good to see you. Hello, Peria Gomez, official. I'm glad to see you. And Cohen from Swaziland. Hello, nice to see you as well. Happy to have you both here, or everybody here. So I'm excited to talk about today's topic, and let's get into it. So we were talking about how it feels really crowded, right? You are one of one. You are the expert in your zone of genius, and yet there seems to be a gazillion people online trying to do similar things, even though they're not as good as you. And I think a lot of times we feel that pressure, right? There are just too many people doing what I do, right? It feels that way. Everyone is saying something similar. And I think it's really just getting harder and harder for people to stand out. And I totally get it. I think what's happened again is that people are using social media. They're expanding how they can talk. More people can share ideas. More people are visible, sharing their ideas and talking about how they think and what they do. And so I think on the outside, it may look like, oh, it's super saturated. There's so many people doing what I do. It's really competitive, or even it feels noisy almost, And so what I want you to really understand is that most of that noise is really superficial. It just sits at the top. A lot of it is repetitive. A lot of it is recycled language used over and over. A lot of the framing and the techniques or the strategies that people are saying or talking about are really similar. So I think what the deeper issue or concern is not necessarily the number of people that are seeing you, or the number of people that are out there, I should say, who may be doing similar things. It's the lack of clear thinking. And when the thinking is unclear, that's what starts to really look the same, right? Everybody looks the same, everybody's sounding the same. So when it seems like everybody doesn't have a clear positioning, right? And there's a lot of people who are like that at volume. That's, I think, why the markets feel so crowded. And I think the reason why most people respond the same way, predictably. And so I think what people try to do, I know I certainly have been there, is you're like, all right, well, how can I stand out amongst all these other people who I think are just not really doing it well, or have lukewarm or watered down frameworks compared to what I have? You post more. Done that. Anyone else done that, right? Where you post more? You try to show up more often. You basically are trying to increase your visibility and increase the amount of times that you're out there, right? If that's you, go ahead and put me too in the comments. I already see one me too. Yep. Definitely something that I've struggled with. And so if that's you, what I want you to consider is that the amount of stuff that you put out there, just because you're putting out more, doesn't necessarily make you different. It's going to create burnout. I mean, honestly, I got tired. I'm sure you're getting tired, right? And then the more you put out, it just kind of adds to the noise and the repetition that's out there. So and it may even seem, because you're trying to be repetitive, that your like message shifts every time you post. It's like a different message everywhere. And so that starts to feel like you're inconsistent in your messaging. And then your audience, right, doesn't really know who you are. They really don't know how you think. And all of this kind of just, spirals into not being memorable ultimately, right? Now you are a part of the noise. And if you're not memorable, you're easy to overlook, you're easy to compare to other people, and you're certainly replaceable. And so this is what I think a lot of us are experiencing right now as competition. But really what it is like, I think it's just like our positioning gap. It's how we're positioning ourselves compared to other people. It's making sure that our ideas and our frameworks are really clear and they're consistent all the time. So I want you to know that your authority doesn't really come from being louder than everybody else or posting more than anybody else. It comes from defining what your framework is. So I want you guys to start asking a different question. I know a lot of us are thinking like, oh, how can I stand out? How can I stand out? How can I stand out? But really, I think what we really should start to ask ourselves is, what do I want to be known for? And how can I define the problem that I'm addressing differently from how other people are addressing it? What is my actual way of seeing this? Start to build out your framework, right? So again, I want you to ask, instead of how do I stand out, I want you to start asking, what do I want to be known for? I want you to start asking, how do I define the problem differently? And I want you to start asking, what is my way of seeing all of this? Clip that. Because this is where your intellectual property comes in. It's your frameworks, your models, your language, the words that you use to describe these things. It's how you organize all of this. So that way, your way of thinking and your way of attacking certain problems is very, very clear, and people can always attach it to you. All right. Does that make sense? If this is helpful, go ahead and put an H in the comments so I know this is helpful. And so the point is that when you have all of this clear, right, you stop reacting to like what everybody else is saying, and you start shaping how your ideal clients start to think about you, how they see you. And you're no longer competing inside like, oh, whatever the category is that you're in. You're actually defining the category that you're in, right? You're creating a category of one, you, right? Because you're the best at what you do, right? And so this really is what starts to change the dynamic completely. I want you to really understand that clear thinkers are who stand out. Think about, let's take a step back. I want you to think about how you evaluate who you consider are experts. What are the things that you're basing your definition of how they're an expert? Is it the people who post the most? Probably not. Is it the people who are visible the most? Probably not. The people that you follow as experts, they help you understand a particular problem very clearly, and they give you a structure to think about it. Right? So these are people you can count on to feel clear and steady and consistent with how they think about things, and there's the structure and the framework that they think about things with, or the problem with, right? And I think it's that type of clarity, if we're really honest, I think it's that type of clarity that we are drawn to, right? When someone explains something in a way that feels precise, you're like, oh yeah, that's it, right? That's who you remember. And so over time, the clarity compounds. I think you're more readily able to recognize them, right? And then that kind of recognition is what builds the trust over time. And if you really think about it, that's how the authority starts to form. And that's what you want, right? You want that type of authority. It doesn't, and you recognize now that you've answered those questions, that's not how it's not through volume. It's not through their, like, they've got all these posts all the time, right? It's just their way of thinking is clear, it's consistent, and there's a clear structure or framework with which they do that. So that's why we need to mimic that way of thinking about our own. So it's going to require you to pause, stop, and really think about your own way of doing things. So you guys know I love talking about books. And I just want to remind you that this is where a book can become really, really powerful, because a book forces you to slow down and define the way that you think in entirety, right? In like its complete form. How are you thinking about that particular problem that you're really good at solving? Because when you write the book, it forces you to organize your ideas, and it essentially it's required, like you have to hold a consistent perspective, right? Like you have to name what your frameworks are. Like these are things that you have to do when you write the book. And so once that exists, I think then your positioning, the way that you think about things, your framework, all of that, your ideas become much more easy to be recognized because you've now made them consistent. And so a book is a great way to become a reference point. It's now the foundation for how people can understand you and the way that you think about things. And it's a way for others to understand that without you having to repeat it over and over and over again. You can just point them to the book and then they can go do that, right? And I think the book is really what anchors that authority, and that for that reason, because it forced you to slow down. It required you. I mean, you had to name your framework. You had to name the steps. And so it allows the thinking to be consistent. It builds that trust. And then the book can be wherever you aren't, right? And this is how I think it becomes longer lasting, right? Because the book allows for the message to continue even when you're not in the rooms where people are having conversations around the problem that you're really good at solving, right? Okay, so if this was helpful, please let me know in the comments. Put a big, huge H for helpful. Let me know. And I'll just close with this. You know, you want to give someone a bunch of stress. You want to give them like anxiety. You want to get their cortisol levels up. You give them confusion. You make them think that they're crazy, right? All of that. But if you want to give someone peace, if you want to give someone feeling like they're understood, you give them clarity. Clarity is so important in that. And so because the market feels crowded, don't respond with just increasing how much you're producing. I want you to start thinking that you're going to respond instead by getting more clear. Anytime you do anything on social media or you post anything, you're just going to be very, very clear, right? The way you think about things is going to be extremely clear. You're going to have step-by-step processes with which to address the problems, right? People are going to understand how you think. And then you're not necessarily competing with competition anymore. You're actually going to attract people who are aligned with you, and the right people begin to recognize your work way more quickly because your thinking is easier to see in that way, right? And I think that's what creates the alignment with people that you're looking for, right? That's what creates your ability to stand out from others. So I want you to understand that it's not competition, it's clarity. So again, if that was helpful for you, go ahead and put an H in the comments. Would love to know. Somebody's asking, this is a question, what am I talking about? I'm talking about the questions at the bottom. The topic is, how do you build authority in a crowded market? So we're talking about how to build authority in a crowded market. And to do that, a lot of it is clarity, creating clarity around your thinking process, how you solve problems, how you go about creating the steps to make sure that you can solve the problem that you are so good at solving. If you're an authority in that space, then you need to create the clarity. It's not about posting more. I know it seems like it's a competition and you got all these other people, but it's not about that. It's just getting really clear in your thoughts, your beliefs, and your frameworks. I would love to talk about this more. If people have, thank you, Francisco, for asking that question. If anyone has any other questions, please go ahead and put them in the comments. If you're watching live, go ahead and put an L in the comments. Shout out to everyone watching live. And if you're watching the replay, this is an R in sign language, go ahead and put an R in the comments and ask all the questions. I read all the comments, live and replays. And I'm here to answer anything that comes up for you guys. I want to make sure that we're all coming out with confidence, with clarity, because I know I'm tired, right? I'm tired of posting everywhere and doing all the things. And I'm sure if I'm feeling that way, you're probably feeling that way too. So let's come together. Let's get clear on how we help people. Make sure that you consistently are sharing your thoughts about how to solve the problem that you're really good at solving. And then of course, you can use a book to really help you do that. When you write a book, it forces you to slow down. It forces you to get really clear on those things. And remember, when you give people clarity, that's what gives them the confidence to move forward, right? If you want to give someone stress, anxiety, you give them confusion. That's not what we're about. We're out here to give people clarity, and that's how you're going to stand out. It's not about competing. It's about getting clear so people understand and see you more. All right, guys, that is my time. This has been amazing. Thank you all for joining. If this has been helpful, again, please put an H in the comments. And the easiest thing that you can do is, honestly, guys, just subscribe, hit the like button, anything. This just tells the algorithm that what we're talking about here is valuable, and it'll share it with more people. It costs you nothing to do that, right? And so it's the best thing that you can do. I look forward to seeing you guys next week. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.